Welcome back to another fun-filled show. I'm your host, T. is Blanchard, aka Free Blanche, aka Blanchard aka Blanchy Kruger. And today's title is Truth in Black and White, Genetics or Culture. Genetics or culture. I would be a bit remiss if I didn't say that this whole thing is functioning off of you all being Black. If you notice, everybody has a low expectation of Black people. Everyone does. White conservatives, white liberals, Jews, Hispanics, immigrants. Everybody has Asians. Everybody has a low expectation of Black people. But you know who doesn't have a low expectation of Black people? God does it. See, the beautiful thing about God is that God's standards remain. So whether you're Black or white, God's standards are still the same. They're the same. So the world may have a low expectation of Black people, but I assure you that God does not. God expects you all to be perfect like your Father is in heaven. Today's title is Truth in Black and White, Genetics or Culture. I had some videos today, but I want to start with this video right now. Let me just put it up. Just let me pull it up real quick. Okay.
Charlie Kirk said black men like you were.
That's not it. Here we go.
Full with waking people up.
I'm to watch The Matrix the other day because I was telling him, like, somebody who's not ready to wake up will kill you for trying to wake them up. You're a threat to their livelihood for trying to wake them up out of, like, the days that they've been living in. They want to be dazed. They don't want to look at the reality of their world and realize, like, I have 100% control over it. That will piss somebody off. It's a bunch of sheep just herding themselves right into the slaughterhouse and mad that a nigga opened the gate and was like, hey, bruh, you could go this way and live a full life. Like, they just rinse and repeat.
Now, what she said was powerful, but I guarantee when she's talking about the Matrix, she's talking about something to do with race. And this is the problem why nothing ever works, because the intentions behind what you're saying is not true. And everybody does it. The world has spiraled out of control because the world collectively believes something that's not true. And that belief is that white people are bad. Now, if you say everybody's bad, then it doesn't mean anything. You have to specify that one group is bad, which by default makes everyone else good. So the entire planet is spiraling out of control because the devil has got everybody to believe that white people are the problem. And this is not just Black people's problem. Everybody does it. Even half of the white people do it. Everybody blames white people because what Satan is going to do, he's going to offer you a choice, an alternative. The Bible says that God gives every man a measure of faith. So then why do you wake up and say it's white people's fault? That means you have a fundamental belief that's inside of you that's not true. This is why humanity is going to fall for the Antichrist. because they believe something that is not true. And again, if we say that everybody is bad, then it doesn't make white people bad. You understand why it's not said? It's not said because they would rather cast an indictment on an entire group of people rather than say the truth. This is why the Bible says that the devil is the accuser of his brother. But what she's talking about from a non-racial sense is true. You see, the hard pill to swallow is that everybody knows right from wrong. Everybody knows right from wrong. I'm telling you, this is how merciful and gracious God is. Everybody fundamentally knows the truth. Why? Because God created you. So if God can't lie, then that means God didn't create anybody with anything that was not true in them. So we are born fundamentally with the truth. And that truth never goes anywhere. So the devil has to convince us that that truth isn't true. So we know right from wrong. Everybody does, because everybody's faced with the same choice every single day. You're forced to examine what is a lie and what is the truth every single day. That's why you hear people saying, I was lying to myself. You have to lie to yourself because you yourself are truth. So you have to lie to yourself to convince yourself because yourself knows the truth. So when people want to remain sleep, when people want to remain sheep, when people want to remain in the Blatrix and the Matrix and the Jatrix, people want to remain in these things, it's because they don't want to live in the truth, because to live in the truth means you have to be stripped down to your bare essence. You have to be uncovered. You have to accept the truth, period. So that means eat the truth about yourself. Even the truth about yourself. Matter of fact, let me just play something real quick, and then we can jump right into it.
Random. Failure isn't bad luck. Both follow. Success isn't random. Failure isn't bad luck. Both follow 12 invisible laws. And right now, you're obeying every single one of them, whether you know it or not. These aren't opinions. These aren't tips. These are laws. Break them and you pay. Learn them and everything changes. 12. Count them. Law number 1, the law of identity. You will never outperform the story you tell yourself about who you are. Your income, your relationships, your body, they all bend to match your self-image, always.
You will never outdo the person that you told yourself you are. Think about that. What you tell yourself about yourself determines everything. And I am living proof of that. I'm telling you all right now that you have to affirm yourself every single day. We are wonderfully and fearfully made. We are more than conquerors. We have to tell ourselves this every single day. Because what you tell yourself that you are, that determines the rest of your life.
Law number 2, the law of the vacuum. You can't receive what you want until you release what you're clinging to. Full hands can't grab new things. Let go or stay stuck.
Let go. Many of us are holding on. Many of us are holding on to things in the past that we cannot change. So you can't receive if you're holding on. The reason why some people are carrying baggage is because they don't want to let the baggage go, because they can't see themselves existing without the baggage. In fact, the baggage has become a part of who they are. I'm not saying this is easy. This is difficult. But we have to let things go. We got to let things go.
Law number 3, the law of reversed effort. The harder you chase approval, sleep, confidence, the faster it runs. The things you want most only arrive when you stop suffocating them. Law number 4, the law of mirrored reality. The world doesn't respond to what you want. It responds to what you tolerate. Your standards are your destiny.
Your standards are your destiny. The things we chase are just so powerful. I remember this young lady I wanted to get with, and I remember I eventually got with her, but I realized something. I was chasing that girl, but you know what I was really chasing? I was chasing myself. And when I got her, she was nothing like she presented. And I remember seeing her out. I just remember, and I remember when I finally got her, I was so disappointed. But I realized something, that I wasn't really chasing her. I was chasing something that was missing in me. And when I got her, she couldn't fill the void. Then he said, your standards are your destiny. Your standards are your destiny. I'm going to tell you right now, you all, the same way a restaurant, okay, you know, you go to a restaurant and have those 100 score ratings. That's how our life should be. We should have a 100 score rating on our life because our standards are that high. And I'll be honest with you, it's not the big things, it's the small things. Just the little small things we do every day amount to the big things.
Law number 5, the law of diminishing intent. The longer you wait to act on an idea, the less likely you ever will. Motivation has a half-life. It decays by the hour. Law number 6.
Don't procrastinate. Because procrastination is the cousin to fear. Don't procrastinate. Just do it. And if you fail, do it again.
The law of emotional gravity. You are pulled toward the emotional state of the 5 closest people in your life. Choose wrong, and no amount of willpower saves you. Law number 7. The law.
You are pulled. Your emotional state is an indication of the 5 people closest to you. Your emotional state. I want you to think about this now. Think about people that you know, and then think about who they're close to. And I guarantee you're going to see where the problem is.
Of silent repetition. The thought you repeat most becomes the belief. The belief becomes the behavior. The behavior becomes the life. It was never about one big decision. Law number 8.
It was never about one big decision. It was about many decisions. Your beliefs are your life. What you believe is going to be your life. This is why it's so important to not have a fundamental truth that's actually a lie. This is why it's so important to not have a fundamental lie.
The law of the hidden payoff. Every bad habit you keep is giving you something. Comfort, distraction, sympathy. Until you name what you are secretly gaining, you will never quit. Law number 9, the law of inverted fear. The thing you are most afraid to do is almost always the thing you most need to do. Fear isn't a stop sign, it's a compass. Law number 10.
Fear isn't a stop sign, it's a compass. The things that we fear the most are the things that we need to do. You see, these kind of teachings, they don't even give to Black people. I want you to think about the dirty game that's being played on Black people. Think about Napoleon Hill talking, and think about nobody talking to Black folks like this. They just throw Black folks, they just throw race at them. This is what I mean by a low expectation for Black people. But it's your fault. It's your fault. Because what these people are giving you is what you want. The devil might have set the trap, but you wanted the cheese.
The law of delayed identity. You don't change when you learn something new. You change when you stop identifying with something old. Information isn't transformation.
You change when you stop identifying with something old. Paul talks about when I was a child, I spoke as a child. When I became a man, I put away childish ways. This is what I talk about when I say Black men suffer from arrested development. It's because Black men don't want to grow up. They don't want to grow up. And I myself have been guilty of that most of my life. But there comes a time where as a man, we don't identify with a child anymore. And we start doing things because it's the right thing to do, or they're the right things to do. We start doing things because they have to be done. There's no emotion attached to it.
Law number 11, the law of energetic debt. Every lie you tell yourself borrows energy from your future. Inauthenticity is expensive, and the bill always comes. Law number 12.
Every lie that you tell yourself comes with a cost. I just told you all that most of the world suffers because they have a fundamental belief that's not true. This is how the devil's able to get in the gates, because you believe something that's not true. And you believe it with every fiber of your being. The reason why in the Matrix, to piggyback on what the young lady was saying earlier, the reason why those agents were able to jump in and out of people is because those people believe the lie that the Matrix is real. And if you believe the lie, you give the agents consent. If you believe the lie, you give Satan consent, because you believe the lie, he's the father of lies. That makes you his child. People can say they're poisoning us with the food, but all of your food items have a label on them. Listen to me. People will say they are poisoning us with the food, but all of your food that you eat has a label on it with all the ingredients. It's your job to look up those ingredients to see where the poison is. But most people just want to eat.
The law of unconscious obedience. You are already following all 12 of these laws every single day. The only question is, are you following them toward what you want or away from it? Save this. You won't remember all 12 right now, but your subconscious already absorbed them. Success.
This might be an AI of Napoleon Hill, but you get the gist of what he's saying. You get the gist of what he's saying. And so I want to challenge not just Black people, but everybody, even myself. I want to challenge us to be the best version of ourselves. And the beautiful thing about it is, you know what the best version of you is. You know, like we know what our best version is. That's the beauty of it. People are not going to go to hell because they didn't know. People want to go to hell because they knew and didn't do. That's why they're going to go to hell. My father is an example. My father, may God have mercy on his soul. My father believed he was a prophet. But the problem is he was afraid to be a prophet. There were some things done to him in his childhood that made him resent his gift. But my father told me as plain as day that he was visited by the death angel. My father told me. So he was visited by, and the death angel told him, this is your last chance. That's how I know God is merciful, even to the end. That's how I know God's grace is sufficient, even to the end. My father said he was visited by the death angel. Death angel told him, this is your last chance. My father had been in bed for 3 days. Said he couldn't move. He said he couldn't move. He said after the death angel left, he was able to get up. And he went to the hospital. And the doctor said, well, it sounds like you may have had a stroke, but I can't really tell that you had a stroke because they ran all kind of tests. They said, we can't really tell if you had a stroke, but it sounds like you may have had a stroke because you couldn't move. But we can't really see or say for sure because we can't see it. Do you think my father listened? You think he changed? This is a lesson for me too. And this is why I say now I understand my father a lot better as a grown man. But I want to challenge you all and myself, this week coming up, for us to be the best version of ourselves. And we know what that looks like. We're going to try this for 7 days. We're going to do everything right. I know that sounds, I hear doubt in your mind already. We're going to do everything right. Not right according to the world standards, right according to God's standards, which should supersede the world. But no, my father did not do what God wanted him to do. And he was killed. And he was killed because to whom much is given, that much more is required. So when you have a gift, truly a true gift from God that's meant to impact the masses, there's going to be a heavy toll on you. there's going to be a heavy toll that's going to be placed on you, because to whom much is given, that much more is required. We are going to be the best versions of ourselves.
Many of you reached out after my last video that
First off,
12. Like these is
how old is your son? First off,
12. Like these is babies.
These is babies right here. These is babies right here. So why is they in handcuffs then?
As a child growing up in the 90s, I don't ever remember my house being child-proofed for either myself or for my younger siblings. Naturally, many people do child-proof their houses, and for arguably good reasons. The child-proofing is not for the adults or for the older children. They're for the smaller children, who may lack the awareness of knowing to not grab a knife from the sharp end, or running headfirst into the corner of a table, or drink the strange-looking chemical beneath the kitchen sink. A child, of course, eventually grows into an adolescent, and along the way, he gains awareness and is able to function inside the house without the need for child-proofing devices.
These is babies. He was only 15 years old. He ain't even.
What happens when, regardless of how old the child gets, the parent still insists that they are in fact a child, and rather than uninstalling the child-proofing devices, they insist on installing more?
Jasmine says the experience has taken away her child's innocence.
He's a child. He's a little black boy. He is mine, and he is somebody. And that's what I want these people to know. They're not going to do my son like that.
Obviously, those will be very strange parents.
As white folks, our challenge is to constantly be figuring out how to take actions that make it clear that this environment needs to be safer for people of color.
To be black is to walk through the world and watch people doing things that you cannot do, that you can't join in and do.
If we eliminate jaywalking laws, we'll make streets safer for people of color by removing the possibility of a dangerous police interaction.
The racial climate, built by postmodern ideology and the activism industry, which insinuates that so-called people of color are like children in need of societal childproofing, and then perpetually insists that people of color are permanently incapable of functioning inside the house at all, is just as strange.
We're going to dress the way we dress, speak the way we speak. We're not going to be respectable. We're going to use words that are reprehensible in otherwise civil company. And guess what? You must cross over to us, speak our vocabulary, speak our language, learn our grammar, learn our ways of being.
There is no way for me to be the perfect American male, because part of being the perfect American male is being white.
Capitalism has no solutions in it for black people.
In a world where we're told that the conventional and lawful means of thriving, which is proven to be true for millions of people from every ethnic group, somehow does not work for so-called blacks, and therefore, rather than there being a need for these proverbial blacks to rise to the occasion, society itself needs to be modified to accommodate them. We take the time to explore this demonic and politically motivated lie in the myth of blackness.
This is going to be excellent. This is going to be excellent by Chad. This is going to be so wonderful. Cruise Missile asks, what if you don't know what the best version of yourself looks like? Well, what we do know is that we know how to put forth the best effort. So if I don't know what my best self is, I know that giving 100% would be my best self. So if you know you got to clean up, clean up. If you know you got to finish this last set, finish the last set. If you know you got to go to the gym, go to the gym. You know you shouldn't eat this, don't eat it. Like there are so many things we can do to get to our best self, because our best self can be achieved all throughout one single day. From the time we wake up, not hitting the snooze button, to the time we go into bed and saying our prayers. Like, our best self is really based on our effort. So what our best self is our best effort. But Chad, it's going to be an excellent series, The Myth of Blackness. Make sure that's the name. Hold on.
American male is being white.
Capitalism has no solutions in it for black people.
In a world where we're told that the conventional and lawful means of thriving, which is proven to be true for millions of people from every ethnic group, somehow does not work for so-called blacks, and therefore, rather than there being a need for these proverbial blacks to rise to the occasion, society itself needs to be modified to accommodate them. We take the time to explore this demonic and politically motivated lie in The Myth of Blackness.
Yeah, so The Myth of Blackness by Chad O. Jackson is going to be, it's going to be epic. It's going to be epic. And truly, it is spiritual. Because what black is, what blackness is, was never meant to be. It was a creation. And a lot of people are responsible for creating blackness, but the ultimate responsibility rests on the shoulders of black people because black people did not reject it. They didn't reject it because the devil may have set the trap, but you wanted the cheese. So everything that blackness is what black people wanted.
Grandfather is actually buried at Glendale Memorial Lawn. And one of the craziest things is, you know, he had a beautiful home in Compton. Compton's really close to the Hollywood area. And it's unbelievable. The stories that Eli Clifford Baker and his family would tell about Compton versus what it looks like today. It was predominantly about 100% white. It was also a bit of a farming community. And going into the 1950s, you know, it was just a white suburban area. It was one of the nicest places in Los Angeles that you could live. The nicest suburb, all centered around family life. There were picnics in the park. Everyone was enjoying their life. Beautiful churches, beautiful homes. But then in the 1970s, there was actually forced integration where they brought in the black people from various parts of Los Angeles. They did subsidized housing, Section 8 housing. And what ended up happening is they destroyed the homogenous community, which was white, most of them white Protestants and Catholic, law-abiding Christians, and they absolutely destroyed the demographic, shifted it, and that's why Compton is one of the worst places to live in Los Angeles today.
And so now, of course, people are going to hear what he's saying. They're going to say this is racism. This is racist. But there's a documentary about Compton that we went over on Cutting Through the Culture a couple of years back, and it talked about how when white people left Compton, it fell apart. And black people blamed white people for leaving Compton. They called it white flight. Think about this now. Think about white people being condemned for moving into the hood and gentrifying it, and then also being condemned for leaving. White flight. It's like I keep telling you all, what you all are asking white people to do is to be your slave. It's like, it's honestly, it's like Satan telling God, you know what? We're equals. Matter of fact, I'm better than you. This is what's happening. Now, white people are not superior because of intellect or genetics or, I don't know, their essence. White people are superior because of their culture. And what people have a hard time grasping is the culture of a people. We get caught up on things like saying black, white, Jew, Jewish, Hispanic, Asian, but really it's the culture of the people. What do the people identify with? Because that's who the people are. It ain't the people. But Compton fell apart because black people moved in. And not because black folks moved in, because the local government wanted black folks to move in, which means organically, black folks could not have moved into Compton en masse. You all tell me about redlining, but you never mention the flip side of all this stuff. How they were letting you all go to different communities and you couldn't afford to be there with subsidized housing. You all love to talk about redlining, but you never talked about how they was putting you all in communities that you couldn't afford to be in, that you shouldn't have been in, but they put you in there anyway, and you destroyed it. So whatever redlining did that you believe it did, you all did much, much worse. You all did much, much worse. And by the way, redlining didn't do anything. It was trying to help y'all. Ray said black people couldn't handle that kind of power. It would be only the strong survive. Tish says there's black flight too, or I would not live next to a black football player with the Seattle Seahawks. There is black flight because anytime a black person gets something, they immediately leave the hood. But this guy is telling you all how Compton was destroyed. You see, what we don't want to admit, people don't want to admit this. It's a hard truth to accept. What we don't want to admit is that, and I talk about the blacks and the Jews, black people would not be where they are today without white people. Jews would not be where they are today without white people. So my question is, these two groups of people who I could argue may have the most influence on the world, those two groups of people never pay homage to white people. Isn't it ironic that the two groups of people that owe their existence to white people never say thank you? It's always racism. It's always anti-Semitism. I would also argue the Chinese are influential in what they produce, made in China. But white people are responsible for all of this. Somebody said, oh, they're worshiping white people. I'm not worshiping anybody, but you're asking me to tell a lie. You're asking me to watch white folks do all of this stuff throughout history, even to this current day, and say it's not true, but to tell a lie about what black folks have done. I'm not going to do it. So if telling the truth about what white folks have done is white worship, then that's what it is then. But I'm not going to lie about what black folks have done. Because it's funny, what black folks have done, we can't see it. Oh, my bad, we can't see it. It's called the hood. Black people's greatest achievement in America is turning a regular neighborhood into a ghetto. If you paid homage to white people, a lot of this stuff will go away. What's so crazy about this is, if black people just got on TV and said, we apologize for lying on white people, do you know how white folks will respond? If black people say we apologize for what we've done, white people would literally, there would be a mass hugging ceremony around the country. White folks would be inviting you over to cookouts and for dinner, taking you. I'm telling you all what would happen. Same with the Jews. The Jews just say, you know what? We're sorry. We're sorry. Immediate, everything changes off an apology. That's how powerful humility is. That's how powerful truth is. Human relations can be improved just by saying, I'm sorry. We're sorry. Everything changes. I'll give you an example.
I had to say this one more time. The media has been lying to you about America, and the World Cup just proved it. For years, European and Canadians have been fed the same narrative. America is dangerous. Americans are ignorant. The culture is shallow. The food will kill you. And people believed it. Why? Because they saw it on the news. They read it online. They never actually went. Then the World Cup came, and millions of people who had never set foot in the US suddenly showed up. And you know what they found? Friendly people, incredible energy, stadiums that blew their minds, hospitality they didn't even expect. Video after video of Europeans and Canadians saying, I had no idea, I was completely wrong, this is nothing like what I was told. And that's the media has been lying to was told. And that's,
you know, I worked with FIFA while I was here, and I can tell you right now that these people from around the world, I was with Spain, Uzbekistan, the Congo, Egypt, and FIFA. And FIFA officials, like, and I'm telling you now that these people were so impressed with America. But you know what impressed them? Do you know what impressed the people of the countries? It wasn't the country. It was the people in the country. Do y'all understand that in America, we're actually hospitable? We actually have manners. So imagine these people come from other countries and folks are telling them good morning. Random people. How's your day? These people fell in. This one guy from Egypt told me, he said, man, he said, I can tell you a good man. He was with me for about 15 minutes. This is what I'm telling y'all. Listen to me. They weren't just impressed with America. They were impressed with the people, because we take for granted how good Americans are. You're not going anywhere else in the world and you're going to get treated this well. Americans are hospitable and respectful on average. These people were impressed with Americans.
That's exactly the problem. The media doesn't profit from you having a good experience. It profits from fear, division, outrage. A Canadian family having the time of their life in Texas doesn't get clicks, you know? A crime story does. So that's all you ever see. That's all you ever hear. And slowly, without even realizing it, your entire worldwide view gets shaped by people who want you to be afraid. And look, in my opinion, the World Cup didn't just bring football to America. It accidentally broke the most powerful propaganda machine in the world, because people finally went and saw it for themselves. So stop letting a screen decide what you think about a place. Go experience it, because I promise you the truth is always different from what they're selling you.
You know America is a great country just based on the way we treat black people. No matter how wrong black people are, no matter how much wrong black people do, America still embraces them. America still loves them. That's how you know we live in a great country. Because in any other country, they would have slaughtered black people, put them in slaves, in chains. If black folks behaved the way they do here in any other country, including Israel, they would have put them in chains. They would have slaughtered half of them first, then put them in chains. The fact that black folks have free reign in America lets you know how great of a country we actually live in. Because anywhere else, black folks getting their head knocked completely off. So when those folks came from around the world for FIFA, they were impressed with the American people. I'm telling you all now, ain't nothing like an American. I don't care what they say. Americans are dumb. I don't care what they say. When people come over here, they don't want to leave. They don't want to leave. Let me go to another. Hold on, yeah, I'm sorry.
So this place feels more like Africa.
Give me 1 second, y'all. This title of this video is White People Are Too Tolerant, the Changing Face of the UK and Europe. I'm going to say this again. They waged a war against white people through their morality. They killed. There's a line in this movie called The Green Mile where the character John Coffey says he killed them with their love. And then at the end of the movie, he's speaking to Tom Hanks through telepathy and he says, they kill them with their love. That's how it is all over the world. That's what happened with white people. What white people have done, thank you, Tish. Tish called it suicidal empathy. Do you all understand they wage war on white people's hearts? Imagine white people being called the worst people on the planet, but nobody else is willing to do what they've done. Let's just jump right into it, man.
So this place feels more like Africa, South Asia.
The changing face of the UK and Europe. Why are white people so tolerant? I have known the UK for decades. My daughter was born here, and I am also familiar with Germany, having visited around 80% of Western European countries. When I first came to Germany in the 90s, the number of Black, South Asian, and Arabs was quite small. The Turkish community, which Germans refer to as Turkish, has a long-standing presence in Germany. Currently, around 3 million people of Turkish descent live there, among approximately 16.2 million foreigners, constituting about 20% of the German population. My trip in England started in Kent, England. I took the train to London and stopped in Peckham, located in southeast London.
So this area is Peckham. It's an area where it is known for having a lot of immigrant population. So
as I walked around Peckham Rye, I noticed that nearly every shop and person I encountered was non-Indigenous British. Another observation I made was that businesses owned by South Asians, such as Indians, Pakistanis, or Bangladeshis, tended to employ primarily members of their own communities. Similarly, businesses owned by Black people also mainly employed people from their own backgrounds. In contrast, businesses owned by white people had more diverse workforce. So much for racism, right?
Stop. All of the other businesses hire their own, but white people hire everybody. But white people are the ones that are called bad, and everybody else hiring their own are called good. The devil has access to you because you believe something fundamentally that's not true. This keeps the gate open for Satan because Satan is the father of lies. Nobody would allow someone to come into their country and take it over, except white people.
The first time I visited Peckham was over 20 years ago. I intentionally arrived a bit early to avoid the crowd and the chance of being recognized as I create controversial content that doesn't always portray Black and Muslim communities in the best light. I was cautious not to confront anyone, as Black, Arab, and Muslim South Asians are more likely to resort to violence than white people. Are we, the foreigners in the UK and other countries in Europe, net contributors to the British and European economies, or are we transforming them into our failed third world countries?
A British missionary called Alfred Saker, credited with introducing the Baptist faith to Cameroon, died here in Peckham.
Notable figures like Rio Ferdinand and John Boyega were also born at Camberwell Hospital, just west of Peckham and grew up right here in Peckham. I continued my trip back to Peckham train station and boarded the Windrush Line overground train and stopped at Whitechapel. Whitechapel is basically a developed version of Bangladesh. Even the exit signage included Bengali versions. This was installed in March 2022 to celebrate Bangladesh's Independence Day. The signs honor the large historic British Bangladeshi community in Tower Hamlet. As you walk out of the station, you really are in little Bangladesh. They are first, second, and third generation members of the Bangladeshi community here.
If you think I'm going to the UK to be around, you out your mind. When I go to the UK, I'm gonna say, take me to where the white folks are. I don't want to see a turban. I don't want to see a hijab. I don't want to smell nothing either. Take me to where the white people are. I'm not going to the UK to go to Bangladesh. I'm not going to the UK to go to India. I'm not going to the UK to go to Africa. I'm not going to the UK to be around a bunch of Muslims. I'm not. I'm going to the UK because I want to see the culture and the people that happen to both be white. That's why I'm going. I had a friend of mine, he said he went to London and he said, man, he said, all I saw was a whole bunch of Muslims in London. It didn't even cross his mind that he went to London to visit London, but he visited a third world country. It didn't even dawn on him what had happened. Just clueless. Blacks have a hard time connecting the dots. Black people have a very difficult time seeing the nuance in things. It's very difficult. He didn't even enjoy himself in London because there were so many foreigners there. But it's not even dawning on him what's taking place. You spent all that money to go on a trip and you literally went to a third world country in a first world nation. But let me guess, I'm worshiping white people.
They didn't push the white indigenous British people away. The British scuppered by themselves because they could not accept living with the Bangladeshi culture that is fundamentally at odds with British values. Don't get me wrong. Some indigenous British stayed, but the majority scuppered. The people who designed and built places like Peckham, Woolwich, Whitechapel, Croydon, Bradford, Birmingham, and many other areas in England have moved to cities, towns, and communities where they feel more at home. We recently released a video discussing whether segregation could solve racism. In that video, I mentioned that segregation is already occurring, albeit unofficially. As immigrants settled in the Western countries' urban areas, indigenous Westerners tend to move to neighborhoods where they share ethnic similarities. Whitechapel serves as a classic example of why multiculturalism can be challenging, even within various Black African countries like Nigeria, Cameroon, Ethiopia, and many other countries. Different ethnic groups often struggle to assimilate with one another. The current opposition leader in the United Kingdom, Kemi Badenoch, born Olukemi Olufunto Adegoke to Yoruba Nigerian parents in Wimbledon, southwest London on 2nd January 1980, refuses to call herself Nigerian.
My main identity is as British. That is what I see myself as. Nigeria is a nationality. It's not an ethnicity. There's no such language as Nigerian. There are lots of different ethnic groups there.
She considers herself Yoruba, not Nigerian. If she had been born just 2 years later, she would not have been a British citizen, as the UK ended jus soli citizenship right just 2 years after her birth. There are two fundamental ways to acquire citizenship by birth: jus soli and jus sanguinis. The former grants citizenship based on the right of the land, while the latter is based on the right of blood, meaning one parent has to be from that land. Her mother came to the UK for medical treatment and gave birth to her during that time when the UK granted automatic citizenship through jus soli, the right of land. She refuses to identify as Nigerian because she rejects the multiculturalism of Nigeria. It is not inherently racist for a white person to express a desire for their country to be populated by people of their own ethnicity. This reflects a natural human inclination to want to share one's homeland with similar individuals.
The burden of multiculturalism is on the backs of white people. Nobody else is burdened with multiculturalism. It's just white people. White people are told, if you want to live in a white neighborhood, you are racist. But if a black person leaves the hood to move into a white neighborhood, that's good. I told you all of this stuff is just war against white people, because the anti-white agenda is the anti-God agenda. And it's because of what white people represent. White people represent God. Now, I'm not saying that white people are gods. I'm saying what they have created. White people believe in freedom. They believe in equality. They believe in these principles. They believe in a fair and just judicial system. They believe in the right to work and make money. Like, these are white concepts. Show me some white people with a caste system. Well, Blanche, what about when white folks had slaves? Black folks had slaves too. Black folks bought their freedom. So that's not a caste system. Because in a caste system, you stuck in that caste. Black folks have never been stuck any place in America. Black folks have never been stuck in any place in America. If they chose to stay there, by their own choice. There's public schools in every neighborhood. There's libraries in every neighborhood. There is no excuse for no one not to make it in America. White folks said education is mandatory. Nowhere else in the world. White people said that. Education is mandatory in Western countries. White people care for the homeless. Blanche, you worshiping white people. Prove me wrong. Prove me wrong.
While immigration is a fundamental aspect of human history, when immigrants make up more than 2% of your population, it becomes an invasion. Tensions are likely to develop in such scenarios. One key reason that the British, Germans, French, Swedes, Dutch, and many other Europeans do not experience the same level of conflict as South Africans is that they have a legal system that effectively punishes those who break the law. Let's take a look at this chart. While the US and Canada are included, I often exclude them from the immigrant debate because the white populations there are not indigenous to the land. It is difficult for me to support white people who are not in their indigenous homeland of Europe when they accuse other immigrants of immigrating to those lands that their grandparents invaded and seized. With all due respect, in Germany, there are 16.2 million.
Whoa. Back up. Back up. Back up.
In their indigenous homeland of Europe when they accuse others to the land. It is difficult for me to support white people who are not in their indigenous homeland of Europe when they accuse other immigrants of immigrating to those lands that their grandparents invaded and seized. With all due respect, in Germany, there are 16.
You saw what he just did? You saw what he just did? You saw what he just did? Again, the issue isn't people migrating to America. The issue is people coming here illegally. The majority of folks that come, so in other words, there wouldn't be an immigration problem if the laws were enforced, meaning you can come to the United States legally. So white people aren't complaining. White people are saying you can come to this country legally with no problem. We have a legal system, whether you agree with it or not, we have a system for you to come here and become a citizen. Even so much to the point where if your child was born here, even if you came in illegally and your child was born here, your child was an American citizen. So how dare this guy say that white folks aren't in their homeland when white people created the best country on the planet? You left that out. White folks aren't in their homeland. However, they created the best country on the planet that allows folks to come in here legally. Oh, I agree, Tierra. Do not come. What did Kamala say? Don't come. Do not come. Go said he hates Christians. That speaker in the video is an antichrist. He has made many videos blaming God and religion for the state of Africa. He's another form of woke, but it really is just antichrist. I got to find those videos. That's exactly what he's saying, the Stoke division. So basically he's saying the U.S. is exempt from invasion. That is exactly what he's saying. That is exactly what he's saying. The U.S. deserves to be invaded. I told y'all. The black man is weak. I told y'all this. He is weak. This guy right here done lived in Germany, lived in the UK, done had the best life. And he's still a victim.
0.2 million foreign-born residents, which constitute about 20% of the population. It is important to note that this number does not include second-generation foreigners whose children automatically inherited German citizenship. Following Germany is the UK with 10.7 million foreign-born residents, excluding non-indigenous foreigners whose children were born in the UK and acquired citizenship under the jus sanguinis rule. Other European countries such as France, Spain, and Italy also contribute to these figures. In South Africa, with just 4 million foreigners, there have been widespread attacks on black foreigners, whether they are legal or illegal residents.
So I had the legal documents. I'm looking for the direction for the government. If the government insists that I should close my shop and go, it's coming from the government direction. I will close and go.
So you are ignoring this organization?
I'm not ignoring the organization, but at the end of the day, the organization stated that they are chasing illegal immigrants. I'm not illegal. I've run a business. I have this company for more than 13 years. Paying tax, paying taxes, employing workers, training workers by myself. How am I doing something illegal at that perspective? Is that illegal?
Not at all.
So
we say we don't want any foreigner to run any business. So if you close now, it's none of your business whether this shop is opening or not.
This violence occurs largely because law enforcement in South Africa is not as strict as in predominantly white countries. When looking at the numbers as percentage of the population, we see that a staggering 22% of Sweden's population is foreign born, almost 20% in Germany, 15.5% in the UK, 14.7% in Spain, and just 6.2% in South Africa. Despite these statistics, South Africans choose the typical black style, violence and disruption, unlike the whites in Europe. We all
This is an invasion. 22%. You already said 2% is considered an invasion. Sweden, 22% immigrant population. Canada, 20%. Germany, 19.5%. The UK, 15.5%. Spain, 14.7%. The US, 14.6%. Belgium, 14.5%. France, 11.1%. The Netherlands, 10.6%. Italy, 9.3%. South Africa, 6.2% with extreme violence, though. This is an invasion. This is war on white people. Why is nobody talking about this? Why is nobody talking about these white nations being conquered through virtue? These white folks can't stand y'all in their country, but they don't bother y'all. The Africans are killing, tearing stuff up, burning. White folks don't like y'all, but leave y'all alone. But you calling them racist. And y'all want me to sit back and talk about slavery. I wish I would. I don't care. Listen, how about this? I don't care about slavery. I'm not moved by slavery. I think it's a pathetic story. I think it's a horrible story. I think if I was a child and that was my bedtime story, I would throw up on my parents. If I was being read the story of how black folk were slaves in America, it'd make me want to vomit. You mean to tell me it was all of y'all? For all them years? I'd have threw up. What's wrong, baby? You sick? No, I ain't sick, mama. I'm just disgusted. Mama's baby sick. No, mama baby ain't sick. Mama baby disgusted.
South Africa. Despite these statistics, South Africans choose the typical black style, violence and disruption, unlike the whites in Europe. We all have to accept that Europeans are way too tolerant. I continued to East Ham. As soon as you walk out of the station, almost every shop, left and right, is owned by people of South Asian origin. When it comes to integration, Black people are more likely to integrate than Arabs, Muslims, and South Asians. The South Asians, like the Black Africans, have created an adjacent culture within the host European culture. I find it hard to understand why people would choose to move to a foreign country if they are not willing to assimilate into the local culture.
Because the intent behind the move is evil, that's why. Because the intent behind people moving here is evil. That's why. It's an evil intent. Why would you want to go to a foreign land and not be a part of that land? Oh, because you're coming to take. You're coming to steal, kill, and destroy. That's why. That's why. The intent is wrong. You see, when folks came to America, they came to America to be American. Since you want to bring up that white folks not indigenous to America, when folks used to come to America, they came to be American and they were proud. But when they go to Europe and other countries, they're going to take over. And the same now today. Ghost User said, the worst part is that they don't tell Black people that once white civilization is gone, the entire world becomes a dictatorship under the beast. There are no rights ever again. Thank you, Ghost User. The irony of all of this is that when these end times really come and white folks aren't in charge, y'all are going to be getting slaughtered, Black people. You're going to be getting slaughtered. And you're going to be behaved. And you're going to be behaved. You're going to be getting slaughtered and you're going to be behaved. You're going to be getting made examples of and you're going to be behaved. You have not seen how docile and pathetic and weak Black folks can be until these white folks are gone. When white folks leave, everybody loses their confidence. White folks are like parents guarding over their children. Once white folks not in power anymore, y'all are cooked. Because white folks are still going to be fighting. They're still going to have their own communities. White folks still going to be white folks. Because white folks created a culture from living in the worst place on the planet. White people created a culture around living in the places no one else wanted to live in. Y'all wanted to be near the water. Y'all wanted to dance, eat fish and coconuts and dance and make little calypso music and all. That's what y'all wanted to do. White folks said, we'll take those mountains covered in snow. We'll take the tundra. We'll take the frozen wasteland. We'll take where it's mostly cold all year round. We'll take where it's gloomy. We'll take where it's hard to grow food. White people lived in the places that everybody else was too afraid to live in. So yes, Ghost User, you are right. Once white people are gone, you all are cooked. You're going to get slaughtered. Even this guy right here.
Like the other towns like Peckham, Whitechapel, and all the other towns in London where immigrants have overpopulated, white British indigenous people have scattered, segregating themselves in areas where people of their kind live, while the South Asians have also segregated themselves into areas where people of their kind live. The Black Africans, as usual, are always the last. They neither have the wealth to create communities like the South Asians, so they are dispersed around the less affluent neighborhoods, sometimes sharing communities with the South Asians, Arabs, and other immigrants from the global South. When it comes to the Chinese, Koreans, and Japanese, I think they are the most admirable immigrants. They don't impose themselves on their host. They work hard, silently, out earning every other community without even making a sound. They are not trying to become the mayor, prime minister, or run around saying, I am British or European, even when they have British and European citizenship. How would Indians, Pakistanis, Bangladeshi, Nigerians, Egyptians, Syrians, Lebanese, Iraqis, Ghanaians, or other countries feel when Europeans start moving into their countries and calling themselves Indians, Pakistani, Bangladeshi, Nigerians, Ghanaians, Iraqis, Syrians, and running for political positions in their countries and even for the highest office of the land? Just imagine for a moment that 20% of Pakistan, Bangladesh, Iraq, or Egypt were white people who moved there and refused to integrate into the local culture. Their women wear bikini and dress openly, build churches and preach in the street, living as though they were in Europe. How would you feel about that? Do you think you'd be able to tolerate them as they tolerate you?
The answer is no, because what you're going to find is that these groups of people don't have the same character as white people. I love the Chinese. I love the Japanese. I love the Koreans. You know why I love them? Because they're respectful. They're respectful. To be disrespectful is disrespectful to themselves. That's how they can go to any country and have no problems, because they respect the country. I love it. I love it. All these other people come to these white countries and want to destroy it. You left your country because it's trash. Why would you come to the new country and make it like your old country? You know why you would do that? Because you're working with Satan. Because you're working with your motivation, your intents are evil. I said it. It's evil. White folks are building their own towns and y'all are throwing a fit. These folks are invading whole nations and y'all are clapping.
In their countries, I continued to Canary Wharf, enjoying the British summer. Everywhere you look, you'd find that Europe is so mixed. Even in affluent area, Europe is very multicultural. Europe is becoming less and less predominantly white. It is multicultural. The vast majority of people are law-abiding citizens, born and raised in Europe, and they've come to stay. Finally, I went to London Bridge to catch my train back to Kent. While waiting for my train, I walked out to Tower Bridge and spot something on the bridge. Right next to the British Union Jack is the LGBTQYZ flag. This country values the alphabet people just as it does its Union Jack.
You can go to a white country and be as gay as you want to be. You can go to a white country and be as gay and trans as you want to be. You go to them other countries, they cut your head off. Even when it comes to debauchery, white folks believe in, I told you all, white people culturally believe in freedom. Nobody else does. Nobody else believes in freedom for all. That is a white concept. They even got the LGBTQ flag waving.
YZ flag. This country values the alphabet people.
You got the British flag waving next to the LGBTQ flag. Because see, once you let the barbarians in the gate, anything goes. Once you let the barbarians in the gate, anything goes. Because the barbarians don't have a standard. And you can insert barbarian with any group you want to. But I'm going to say, yes, baby, for life, the middle class is a white concept. There is only mass migration into white countries. That tells you all you need to know. It's no different than folks leaving California, going to Texas to vote Democratic. Folks leaving New York, going to Florida to vote Democrat. Why would you do it? You're only going there because it's a red state. God is not the author of confusion. If God's not the author, then who is the author of confusion? It is Satan. The same way people move from California to Texas and vote blue, and move from New York to Florida to vote blue, are the same way these immigrants come into these countries is to destroy. What these people are trying to do, what Satan does is trying to do is remove the choice. Choose ye this day who you going to serve. As for me and my house, we're going to serve the Lord. They're trying to remove choice. Because when there's no choice, you got to make a decision. When there's no choice, there's no standard. When there's no choice, the devil can thrive. This is why the Antichrist is going to take away choice.
Just as it does its Union Jack. I thought the UK Supreme Court had already ruled that references to man and woman in the Equality Act 2010 strictly mean biological sex. Under this interpretation, a woman is legally defined as a person assigned female at birth and a man as a person assigned male at birth. Well, I'm not going to stray from the topic. I create content to challenge the status quo. When I listen to Western politicians speak or Western influential people and celebrities, I often gasp at the insincerity of their disposition, platitudes, and truisms for fear of being cancelled, labeled racist, homophobic, or, as the recent trend shows, transphobic. At BCD, I intend to explore every topic without being constrained by woke, left, centrist, right, or any political, racial, religious, LGBTQYZ, or other group identities. As a Nigerian, I don't have anything in the first place anyway. You know, we are broke people anyway, with nothing to lose. So feel free to go ahead and cancel me. If you think we're wrong, if you think there was anything I missed, please leave them in the comment section below. And also, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Thanks for watching.
That's a pretty good video, though. It's a pretty good video. Thank you, Cruise Missile, for the super sticker. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Thank you again, Cruise Missile, always supporting. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Damien, thank you so much. Sending me a euro. Thank you so much. Willie, thank you so much. I appreciate it. Janai TV, thank you for your comment. Thank you so much, Janai. Thank you so much. Listen, y'all. I love y'all. And I'm going to tell y'all the truth as best I can. And I don't know if we can save America, but we can save our household. So, like I said earlier, we can go out every day and be the best versions of ourselves and let the chips fall as they may. But there is a war going on outside, and it is against white people. But really, we peel the layers back. The war against white people is a war against us all, because the devil doesn't really care about skin color, nationality, race, or ethnicity. The devil wants your soul. So really and truly, we are in this fight together. I wish we could see it like that, but Thrice said, "Great shall be the fall of Babylon." What folks don't realize is that when Babylon falls, everybody gonna fall right along with it. Babylon ain't gonna fall with no collateral damage. Everything gonna fall with it. And folks can't imagine a world that ain't set up by white people. We can't even fathom it. Oh, yes, we can. Yes, we can. Go to these third world countries and see how they live. Go to these they've conditioned people to believe that white folks getting their just dues and the world's gonna be happily ever after. Once white folks pay, everything else will be great. Oh, I assure you, the devil got a trick for y'all, boy. Ooh, and you know what's gonna happen? What's gonna happen? When all this happens, they're gonna show you all how great it was with white people. Because the devil gonna give you what you want, but you're not gonna be able to enjoy it. So y'all gonna be in concentration camps watching how good it used to be with white folks. Y'all gonna be in caves and forests and woods somewhere watching how good it was with white people. Because the devil will always give you what you want, but he's never gonna let you enjoy it. He wants to see you suffer. The devil wants to see you suffer. Larry said the women's out here would turn down Jesus because he was a carpenter. Exactly. They would hate Jesus. They would hate Jesus. Because she would have said, are you gonna buy me dinner? He would say, my child, I have no need of money. No need of money. And that's it. He cooked. Imagine Jesus trying to date, and the chick is like, take me somewhere nice. And they go to a park, and Jesus start touching stuff. Food start popping up, tables, candlelight, everything. It won't be enough. She said, I said somewhere nice, like Ruth Chris or Chops, not the park. He could be performing literal miracles, turning water into Patron margaritas and turning the dirt into actual lamb chops, and they would still be complaining. Still. Listen, y'all, I love y'all. And I'm going to go live tomorrow talking about relationships. But listen, I love y'all. Wish you have a blessed evening. Thank y'all for supporting me. And for 1 week straight, we're going to be our best selves. Love y'all. Thank you.